Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. We're joined by Jeremiah Gray. Thank you, G, for coming in. I've been appreciating you coming in the last few streams. It's making my job a lot easier having such a genius like you coming in, man.
Appreciate you, man. I've been having a blast.
How was your Father's Day yesterday, man? I know you've been grinding, you've been in the lab, but you got a little bit of time to dial it back and relax. How was that?
It was cool, man. Got to ball some turkey necks, man. Put some meat on the pit
Ooh,
and just chill out, man, with the fam and enjoy my day, bro.
that's good. That's what you deserve, man. I seen the other day, maybe like 2 weeks ago, you were char grilling some oysters, man. Tell me a little bit about
You know
that.
how you man, you know how we do it in the booth, man. Little char girl oysters, man. I got a special sauce
Ooh.
that I throw on the things, man. I ain't gonna give you my recipe or whatever like that, but I add a little spice to it, put some jalapenos, bacon bits, uh, pepper jack cheese, and I had them things smoking on the grill, man. My family always want me to do them, so I try to do them as much as I can.
Man, we're gonna have to see if we can get something to shake for that USC game. We're gonna have to get some charger
For
oysters
real,
on a little stream or something. But
for real, man.
let's go ahead and give the viewers a layout of the show. So today we're gonna be talking about a little bit of breaking news that popped up before the stream with Les Miles. We'll segue into our biggest questions for LSU football in 2024, what we want to see, what we don't want to see, and honestly, what we could be worried of seeing. Then we're gonna move into Decorium Moore, his final visit. Went into the hometown of Texas. He finished off his final four visits, and now really he just has to make a decision. We'll update you on that and just how that progress is. And last but not least, AK-41, Alvin Kamara, walks into the facility on Friday and turns right out, walks right out the door that he walked in, and he's ready to get paid, simply put. The Saints have been in a little bit of a cap space hell for a few years on and off, and I think that the Alvin Kamara situation is probably going to be potentially the straw that broke the camel's back here. You might see the Saints really enter a rebuild, unfortunately, if this doesn't go their way. But let's jump right into our opener. What we got the stream titled, what more than likely some of y'all are in here watching and ready to hear about. Les Miles announced maybe about an hour ago that he'll file a lawsuit and he'll sue LSU. Why is he suing LSU, you may ask? Well, it's alleged that the vacated wins LSU vacated from 2012 to 2015 have costed Les a spot in the College Football Hall of Fame. Drop your takes in the comments below if you think that that is going to be the main issue here, if that's really what, prevents him from going in the Hall of Fame. Because if you ask me, I mean, he's coached at a few other schools. He's coached at, obviously, Kansas after he leaves LSU. He's coached at Oklahoma. And the 37 vacated wins dropped his career winning percentage from around, it was a little bit above 600, and then it goes to .597. The cutoff is .600. So he's .003 away. I get it. That's a punch in the gut, and it hurts. But I just don't know really how to react to this other than it's a sucky situation. Les Miles is a really good coach, but all in all, I mean, I'm going to compare this to like a Will Wade situation, right? LSU gave Will Wade a little rough end of the stick. He had a recruiting violation. He got kicked, and then all of a sudden, he's building his team in McNeese. This is a little bit similar situation in a sense where the wins were vacated because of a level 1 recruiting violation from the NCAA during Miles' tenure. And all in all, I just don't know how you expect LSU to be able to help you in this situation. I mean, I feel like that's a punishment that they might not necessarily want to go and try to appeal. I mean, that's in the past. They're 2 coaches ahead now. It's been quite some time at LSU, and I just think it's not necessarily an afterthought because we do appreciate, everything that happened with Les, the 2007 national championship, the 2011 SEC title, and almost national championship. But I just don't really see this having a lot of weight. I don't really see this being anything other than a last-ditch effort for Les Miles to really try and pull something together, to really not necessarily get his name out there, but I just think, you turned 70, you got the career. I mean, you got the ring. I'm going to give you your flowers, but I just don't know if this is going to work out the way Les has, expected.
I mean, this guy said that LSU deprived him of the College Football Hall of Fame eligibility. This is a joke, bro. I, I mean, you went 3-18 at Kansas.
Exactly.
You had more than enough opportunity to get to the 600 winning percentage. All you had to do is win one more game at Kansas. If you'd win 4-17 instead of 3-18, you'll be eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. I
Exactly.
know that anybody that's taking this case on has to be laughing to the top of their lungs because you have no win in this argument. You have no like I just don't even understand what Les Miles is thinking at this point. I mean, I don't know if he's getting a little senile at 70 years old. I don't know what is going on, but somebody in his family needs to tell him, like, look, drop the lawsuit. You're wasting money paying for a lawyer, court fees, and all that. You might as well just ride off into the sunset, or wait for Northwestern State or one of these little small schools to fire the head coach and go apply and try to see if you can go coach for one more season to get eligible for the Hall of Fame. But going this route, trying to sue LSU because you're saying you've been deprived. Come on, Les Miles, bro. We appreciate what you did in Baton Rouge and bringing a national championship, even though that was Nick Saban's players. But that's neither here nor there. Just ride off into the sunset, bro, or go find you a little small school to go win it and get to the 600 win percentage. Other than that, man, like you're making a mockery of your career at this point.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean you're a head coach. The mentality has to be I'm gonna go earn it. You all right? I'm at .597. Let me go get another opportunity, like you said. Let me go earn this. Let me not go try to get the easy way. Let me not go ahead and do this route. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very interesting situation, and I really just don't like. Let's even look at the Kansas situation. Not a lot of people probably remember this, but Puka Williams goes to Kansas, and Puka Williams was one of the coolest players I've ever had the privilege to watch in high school football. He had dynamic talent. It's not like that 3-18, tenure in Kansas was because he didn't have anything. And that's probably what people would take at a face value is thinking he went over there and he just had no luck. He had no, I mean, he had talent. He had a situation. He could have done something. And I feel like, he might be a little bit out of luck here in this situation, as we just said.
Definitely gonna be out of luck. This case might not even go over 2 months.
No, he's gonna have to bite the bullet here with this. We got Coco
And
Diaz.
especially when you know you're only suing LSU because you're not eligible for the Hall of Fame. Why you wasn't trying to sue him when it first happened?
Agreed. And then he's also saying like, LSU went back on their word. They said they would help me, dude. I don't know what LSU can do in this situation. That's the NCAA. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you. The NCAA will just. It's not that they make any decision, and it's not that they just, they kind of here's how I'm gonna say it. They're wishy washy. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot go to them and expect them to give you a due process. They don't do that too often. It's a pick and choose type of deal. So I think
Right.
staying out of it is your best bet, and that's normally what LSU decides to do here when the NCAA pokes their noses through things. It's really smart because I feel like getting involved in something that you're not really going to get any benefit from, not worth it. I would kind of just
Right.
ignore this one. Let's go
No,
ahead
no,
and
no.
switch to our first segment here. We had that pop up right before we went live, and I was like, "Oh Lord, man, we got a interesting situation here. We had to address." But now, what you all came for? 2024 big questions. What's going on inside LSU football, and what do we want to see? What are we worrying about? And I'm not gonna say worrying as oh, this is gonna be horrible. This is gonna ruin LSU season. No, it's just more so I have not necessarily had these questions answered. I could have them answered in fall camp in about 2-3 weeks. I can have them answered tomorrow if LSU football drops another hype video on social media and it plays in the right way. But my first thing that I'm a little bit skeptical of is going to be the uh, the defensive personnel that we have going out there in week one and how they're able to be cohesive, how they're able to gel together. Because I just want to say that this could be a potential work in progress. This could be something that, takes some time to iron out. And the first group you see, the first batch, is like, a little bit of a recipe. You got to make some adjustments. You got to cook some stuff up. You got to cook them char grilled oysters up and figure out the ingredients to that sauce. And I think that's going to be really important here for Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, Bo Davis, and even Coach Peoples. And they can do it. This is not a coaching staff that's going to be scratching their head at defensive personnels and schemes and just who to put on the field and what. I do, I'm interested to see the depth and just how they learned their guys in this few month span that we've been able to have with them. They came over at around the January mark, and I mean, we're sitting here in June, so they got 6 months, 5 to 6 months. It's not like it's a short off season, but it's also not a long one comparatively to a
Right.
couple of schools that have some guys with a lot of experience, a lot of depth. Um, what's your take on that, and how do you feel about it?
As far as the question marks of the season,
As far as yeah, what's one of your question marks? What's one of your things you're worrying about, whether it be on the defensive side or anything?
man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm always interested to see what true freshmen can come in and contribute early. You know, when you're seeing Will Campbell and Emory Jones come in as true freshmen and play a vital role in that offensive line, that was very clutch for Brian Kelly in year one, right? And so I think that all good programs is going to should have at least two, maybe three true freshmen that come in and contribute early. Um, the freshmen that I'm kind of paying attention to, man, to see if they can come in and contribute early, man. And I'm gonna talk about Trey Green first. I think Trey Green is a freak of nature. That he's somebody that is going to end up being a first round pick at some point once he gets used to the college game. And I know they got Mason Taylor, and I know they got Pimped in it as the other tight end, but I think they can still have some type of packages for a talent like Trey Green and his athleticism and his size because he's just that talented. You think about somebody like Dominic McKinley, and I know we talked about him a few episodes ago, but I think he's somebody they're gonna have to really, really depend on this year because they're so depleted on the D line. You lose somebody like Makai Wingo and Mason Smith. You're gonna need one of these true freshmen to step up. And I think Dominic McKinley gonna be that person that they're gonna have to rely on to get some key snaps this year. Somebody else that I'm really paying attention to, man, is somebody like Deshaun McBride. He was an early enrollee, plays safety. We know that Sage Ryan is moving to safety, but they still don't have a legitimate spot for Sage Ryan for sure, in my opinion. They tried him out at safety during the spring. I don't know if that's what he's going to be come week one against USC. They might move him to nickelback because they don't have a for sure nickelback yet. So if that happens, now I know they brought Jordan Gilbert in from Texas A&M to transfer. Will he play free safety? Will he play strong safety? That's up in the air. I think that's something that Blake Baker's trying to figure out right now. So I think Deshaun McBride, not saying that he's going to come in and start, but he could play. I could see him coming in and playing 10 to 12 snaps as a true freshman. And he looked really, really good in spring. And when you come in as a true freshman and you get to participate in spring, that helps you a lot come fall camp and when the season comes. So I'm always paying attention, man. What true freshman can come in and contribute early, man? I think those guys that I just named is some people you got to pay attention to.
100%. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about McBride because I do want to know. First things first. 6'4". Oh my God, that length is incredible. Especially at a safety
Yep.
position, you're going to be able to create havoc all over the place. And in the spring game, we did see that. He caught the interception on AJ Swan in the end zone. And I mean, hey, red zone
Mm-hmm.
defense, getting in that man press scheme, and then you're going one on one with somebody, and you're able to come up with a football. Kudos to you, freshman. Also, with
Yep.
with the Sage Ryan thing, I did like seeing him in practice at that spot in the safety position, just because one, he said he was a little more comfortable there. So I mean, now comfort isn't always great. Sometimes you do gotta put yourself in that uncomfortable position. But I think he did that last year, so that's besides the point. But the interceptions he's been able to come up with in the first team has impressed me. One day I think he came up with 2 to 3 alone. And I mean, look, this is an early spring ball. That doesn't mean he's going to be running around collecting Jim Thorpe's like it's candy, but it's interesting because it's like, okay, we're piecing together a DB group that's getting takeaways. We're piecing together guys that are blanketing coverage. I'm excited. I think that they could hit their stride, and this defense really could change a lot of people's tune. It's going to be exciting to see how they, you know, concoct this going in.
And I'm gonna tell you somebody else I got a real question mark about. Zy Alexander, the cornerback that transferred from Southeastern last year, struggled early on at the beginning of the year, but then started hitting his stride and started playing really, really well. And then he got hurt in that Arkansas game where he tore his ACL. And Zy is somebody that has a lot of upside. I can tell the game started slowing down for him, moving from the Southland Conference to the SEC. Big corner. I think Zai's about 6'1.5", really, really long. I really think he's gonna be an NFL draft pick. What round he's gonna be, it's hard to tell right now. But I'm really curious to see how Zai's gonna come back from that torn ACL and when he's gonna come back.
I
Right?
agree. Yep.
If he comes back, week one, the start of the season, that's big for that LSU secondary because I just don't feel good about having to start a true freshman. What if Jawan Johnson has to get thrown in that fire as a true freshman, right? Against a USC going against a potent offense that Lincoln Riley always throws out there, right? Not saying Jawan Johnson won't live up to the bill. Just saying, starting out week one, starting a true freshman, I don't know, because we don't know who's gonna start corner week one. We don't know who's gonna be at both of these corners. I know J.K. Johnson, the kid from Ohio State, is supposed to be in the running. P.J. Woodland, he's another true freshman. He looked really, really good in spring. It's up in the air. Well, Bernard Causey be in the mix. He's another true freshman from John F. Kennedy. So, I'm really curious to see if Zai Alexander comes back healthy, man, and ready for week one.
Yep. And another name I'm gonna throw into that hat right there is Ashton Stamps. I've kind of liked what I've seen from him a little bit.
I forgot about Stamps. You're right. I forgot about Stamps. You're right.
And look, I'm just gonna be optimistic one more time, Mr. Optimistic. I really like at this point in the season. Last year we weren't really talking about the depth and raving about how many pieces we had. We had transfers, whether it be Deuce, J.K., all these guys. Now we're in an instance where I really think Corey Raymond is going to be able to pulse this room really well, especially what we've seen. And we haven't seen much, but we're going to see a little bit more here coming up. And I feel like my number one focus all fall camp is going to be the DB room specifically, but just the overall defense. I really want to see the personnel. I really want to see what the depth's going to be. And I really want to know, hypothetically, we're talking about Zai Alexander tearing an ACL. I want to know who the next man up is once we find who these two corners are. Once we find these two guys, who's going to be fulfilled? If they necessarily can't get up to the plate, they can't play, if they get hurt, if they get benched, whatever. I want to know how deep we really are. I think that's my first big question mark here with LSU's defense. My
Right.
second question mark with LSU, I'll switch it to the other side of the ball. We'll go offense. I'm wondering about the play calling, and I'm not saying, oh man, we're in trouble. All I'm saying is it's always a little bit worrisome when you turn over two coordinators. The defensive side, it had to happen, of course. And I mean, the offensive side is just one of those things where you get a great opportunity to return home. It's hard to pass it down. I mean, let's flip the roles and let's say hypothetically a coach from Louisiana was at Notre Dame and got the big offer from LSU. You're going to expect them to take it. So I get why Mike Denbrock, made the move, especially with, the Jaden, the Malik, the Brian leaving. Maybe he just was in a little bit of a confused situation on how he was going to be able to transpire it. But I think Joe Sloan being in the box with Denbrock last year, kind of understanding the expectations Coach Kelly had with him, plus pairing, I don't know how, and you can kind of answer for this better than I can. I don't know how much Coach Kelly will have his thumb on the offense, but in my opinion, I would expect it to be not necessarily a collaborative effort in the play calling side of things, but I would anticipate Coach Kelly kind of giving Joe Sloan a little bit of pointers, like, here, look, this is what I expect. This is kind of what I want. This is my vision. And I'm not saying he's putting handcuffs on Joe Sloan as much as it'll be, a mentor type deal. Like, Joe's not going to be in the fire alone. He's not, if he has issues, if he has, trouble with this role increase, I don't think it's going to necessarily eat him alive.
Nah, you got to remember, this ain't Joe Sloan first rodeo. He was the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech when that Louisiana Tech offense was putting up numbers, and they was like top 15 in the country at that time. Right, and this was around the time when they had Carlos Henderson. That was a first round pick, or maybe it was a second round pick at the receiver, and Trent Taylor, who I think was probably like a fourth, fifth round pick. Both of them caught over 100 balls. Both of them caught for over 1,000 yards. Joe Sloan, and I know that's a different level. Louisiana Tech and LSU, right? I'm not stupid, okay, LSU fans, but he's used to calling plays, right? And he gave us a glimpse of what he can do in the bowl game against Wisconsin. Nussmeier threw for 395 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had the one bad interception. I think that's something that you're going to see Joe Sloan hone in on this whole offseason, getting Nussmeier not to be a risk taker as much and make sure he don't turn the ball over because that's something Jay Daniels did a really good job of.
Yep.
He didn't turn the ball over. He was very, very careful on, you know, when he took his shots downfield. And so if Nussmeier does that, I think Joe Sloan will open up this offense and Chris Hilton and Kyron Lacey and Aaron Anderson and Mason Taylor. I think these guys are going to catch for a lot of yards this year, man. Now the offense is going to look a little different. You're not going to see as much RPO as you did with Jaden Daniels. You're not going to see as much quarterback zone reads and stuff like that. I think they're going to do different things like manipulating the defense with a lot of moving the pocket, a lot of play action passing, traditional pro style offense plays for Nussmeier. And I think you'll see this offense, man, do something close to what they did last year. It's gonna be. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do what they did last year because what they did last year that was just astronomical.
Right.
But I think they can get somewhere in the same ballpark as what Jaden Daniels did for that offense last year. So I'm a believer of Joe Sloan, man. He's a relentless worker. I think he's somebody that understands what Nussmeier does well, and he's gonna put him in good position, bro. So I'm not really concerned about the play calling this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's just, especially because, you're going to see Joe Sloan on the staff last year. You kind of got him in the building. He's not a new guy walking in, and he's not, having to gain his bearings. So that's a positive. It's not like it's a brand new coordinator. I'm just ready to get this season underway so I can see if this is going to be, the LSU team that can take them into the college football playoff. I feel like it's right here.
Now, there's a gift and a curse with Joe Sloan now. If Joe Sloan knocks this out the park with Nussmeier and they throw for a whole bunch of yards and win a whole lot of games, get the 12-team playoff and make a run, I would be very surprised if you see Joe Sloan as the OC next year at LSU. He will be getting a lot of calls from a number of schools to come be a head coach.
And you know what?
I can promise you that.
I'm glad you said that because, listen, this is a perfect pivotal moment here for LSU football. I want everybody to realize the era and the moment that we're entering. You've got Brian Kelly having enough people recognize his success, give him his flowers, and now he's, so to speak, getting the Nick Saban treatment where they're plucking coordinators like Mike Debrock, potentially a Joe Sloan. Yeah, I agree. If you have a Heisman quarterback that you helped develop, and I mean, we're talking about him not turning over the ball. Whenever he arrived at LSU, the season prior, he threw 10 interceptions. It's almost an interception every week. He comes to LSU first year, irons some things out. Second year, blows everybody away. If Jaden Daniels had a third year, I'd argue he'd be at the top of anybody in terms of best college football quarterback ever. So that would have been interesting. But I think, we're talking about Jaden Daniels. This is going to parlay right into my third question, my final question here for LSU. That running game, how's it going to continue? The talent's there. The depth is there. You also have a young, up-and-coming star that we really don't know the true potential of in Caleb Jackson. And, honestly, in Caden Durham. And potentially Trey Holly. So there's so much. You guys still got Josh Williams. John Emery comes back. You do have all your pieces. Really, from last year, the only things you lose, Logan Diggs, Noah Kane. Marty Goodwin was hurt, but, I mean, I don't believe he's going to be in this lineup, especially if he was in this situation. I don't know if he transferred or exactly where he went, but I know that he's not going to be a part of this. But either way, I think that this rushing game is going to be very, very contingent in terms of how the offense goes. Like, this is going to be, everyone's worrying about the passing. I think, though, that the running is the biggest key to setting up the passing, whether it be, setting up a potential play action, whether it be disguising your tight ends out there, making them look like they're getting into space. All of a sudden, boom, they motion in, and now you got an extra lineman. Or, there's a couple of things here that we can look at if this running game takes off, and it can make LSU's offense multi-dimensional. It can make them a problem. And, you're not going to have the Jaden Daniels huge runs, the big chunk plays. If a pass breaks down, he might not be able to just take one to the end zone. But if, they run in the inside, they have a heavy running attack, and they get the defense to move some things around, I do think that it'll help develop the air attack, and it'll also help develop the comfort of Nussmeier because he's not going to have to sit here and constantly be the main creator and constantly have everybody looking at him for answers. If the running game picks up, I think that Joe Sloan, the offense, and LSU as a whole doesn't miss a beat. I think that might be, besides the defense, my biggest question for next year.
I mean, to me, and it's not even being biased, I think LSU probably has the best offensive line in the country. And
Agreed.
I think they have arguably the best offensive line coach in the country in Brad Davis. So their running game is gonna be all right, right? Caleb Jackson is emerging. A lot of people feeling like he's the next big time running back to come out of that LSU program. Josh Williams, Mr. Reliable. Like Josh Williams is the ultimate pro. Like this dude, pass protection, catching out the backfield, running between the tackles, leadership.
Getting off his feet to block.
No matter what you need from Josh Williams, he's going to come through, right? He's going to be the most consistent running back in that room. And then when you sprinkle in somebody like Caden Durham, the true freshman from Duncanville, who runs a 10-4, 10-3, and 100, I think he's going to have some opportunities to have some game-changing plays throughout the season. And if Trey Holly comes back, which they say he will be back, that's another added dynamic weapon in that backfield. And like I say, man, when you're running behind an offensive line like that, like Will Campbell say, run the ball behind me, coach. Run the ball behind me, coach. Man, when Will Campbell tell you that, man, run the ball behind 66, man. And you're going to get positive yards all day and tomorrow, bro. So I have no questions about this running game next year when you got somebody like Will Campbell, who was one of the best leaders, if not the best leader on that team.
Yeah, if we can go out and I see the defense out here, gelling together, hitting their stride. I see Joe Sloan looking comfortable, and it looks like the bowl game. It looks like last year. And last but not least, we see a running back able to average 70, 75, 80 yards a game. Yeah, I think those are the final three question marks that'll, alleviate all the worries, all the doubt, and that's a college football playoff team. Those are the last couple of things here that you have to prove to everybody, to the world, to really be highly touted and respected. And I think that LSU is right there. If you've asked us, they've been there for 2 years. I think last year they should have been respected as well, but this year here particularly, I think they take that step into the upper echelon of college football, and they arrive. They're here with Brian Kelly in this era.
As long as they don't have no slip-ups,
Yeah.
well, they put themselves out of the 12-team playoff. Listen here, Tiger fans. If LSU getting that 12-team playoff, I am really confident that these people could make a run and get to the national championship and possibly win. I really feel like that because when you look at college football, I don't see a dominant program that's coming back this shit. I'm like, ooh, damn, they probably should be the favorites. I don't have anybody that I'm saying that about. Of course, Georgia gonna be good, right? They're gonna be good, but I don't look at Georgia like I looked at them 2 years ago.
Nope.
And say, man, everybody playing for second place. With Nick Saban going, I'm not looking at Bama and saying, man, you got to worry about Saban and Bama. I'm not saying that, right? Michigan has a good group coming back, but you lose your head coach, you lose your starting quarterback. They lost some key pieces. The Corum at running back, Roman Wilson at receiver, right? But they still got some good pieces coming back. Yeah, and I got to give props to my squad. I'm a Michigan fan now, even though I'm from Louisiana, right? Got to give them props. But I don't look at Michigan and say, man, if you got to play Michigan, they just better than LSU. I top to bottom. I can't say that by nobody in the country. So if LSU could get into that 12-team playoff, which I'm confident they will, don't be surprised, Tiger fans, that people make a run all the way to the national championship. Do not be surprised, especially with Blake Baker as a defensive coordinator. And I just think I'm not saying he's going to make this LSU defense dominate and they're going to hold people to 10 points or less a game. But I think he's going to have his defense in position to get key stops and get this offense in good field position to be able to put up a lot of points this year. It's going to be like a bend but don't break defense, and they're going to make critical plays at the right time. I think it's going to be that kind of defense. And then next year, that's when you see LSU defense get back to their old ways where they're top 10, top 8 defense in the country, right? Because, Corey Raymond and Blake Baker and Bo Davis, this their first year together. They trying to figure it out, and they got to figure it out fast.
Yep, and I think, we're talking about them being bend but don't break and making a few plays. That's all you needed last year. Last year, you needed a handful of plays in a couple of moments, and you walked out with a few extra wins, and that would have punched your ticket potentially. I think that the 12-man, it feels wide open. it feels so wide open, especially finishing 13th
It's because
last
it
year.
is wide open.
And I think, I'm not gonna get too far ahead of myself, but I might start booking my flights and my hotels for these
I'm telling
games.
y'all, man. I'm telling y'all, it's looking real, real good for LSU. If they can get, as long as they don't have no slip ups and get to that 12-team playoff, it's gonna look. I'm feeling really confident.
Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to be there. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit of LSU football recruiting. I feel like everybody always wants to know the update, wants to know what's going on in the recruiting world. Who are we getting? Who did we miss? This, that, and the third. Well, Decorian Moore and this, recruiting situation that we've been keeping track of for the last few weeks, it may be nearing an end here soon. His decision will be made in about a month. He said he'll be making it around the end of July, toward that start of the school year for him. Just to recap his visit at Texas really briefly. I don't know too much about it. All I know is that I've seen a few funny photos. First thing I saw was the picture of the brother. Everyone saw it. It was all over Twitter. They're taking their recruitment photos. The whole family's hooking the horns and throwing up the Longhorn symbol. And you got that one little brother at the bottom throwing up the L. And everyone's laughing like, man, this kid knows ball. This kid knows what he's talking about. That was a pretty funny moment of that recruiting visit. But another cool moment, too, like a wholesome moment, if you will. His grandma gets to attend. And I think that's really what Texas presents to Decorian Moore. Besides his NIL, besides, the obvious, it's close to home. They were able to really, really hit that one out the park, if you ask me, getting her there. And I mean, it's a small thing, but it's like it does mean a lot to somebody like that. That get her a part of it, get the whole family out of there. Uh, I don't know if he's 100% going. I won't make any final decisions because obviously I'm not Decorian. I just think this one might potentially be all but over. How do you feel, G?
I've been saying it for months, man. I just don't see the Corin Moore being an LSU Tiger. Hope I'm wrong when I say that. Hope he ends up being the purple and gold because I would love to see him and Bryce Underwood put on the show the next 3 to 4 years. But I just don't see it happening. I think Texas is too is they in too deep with the family, especially with the mom. Um, I think they just gonna ride off into the sunset and be a Texas Longhorn, right? And it is what it is. This is LSU, man. You move on. They'll find another receiver. They had C.J. Wiley on campus this whole weekend for official visit. Kyron Lee said hosted him. C.J. Wiley, really good receiver, 4-star player. He's not Decorian Moore. I'm not trying to at all say that, but he's a really good receiver, and I think he can be somebody that come into this LSU program and be one of the better receivers in that room. So, hopefully they get C.J. Wiley. I think they got 2 or 3 more receivers they're trying to go after and get for this next class. And so it's not the end of the world, Tiger fans, that Decorian Moore is probably not going to be an LSU Tiger. It's really not. They'll move on. And look, not to try to be the bearer of bad news, but the number one overall receiver in the country doesn't always pan out all the time. So, if you get him, cool, because I know that being in an LSU program and coming out of that wide receiver room and what they produce, I think he would turn into a first-round pick, but it's not the end-all be-all if you don't get him. So let's just pump the brakes on the Corin Moore going to Texas and him not being an LSU Tiger, bro. Let's not make a big deal about this. Let's just move on and put our focus on C.J. Wiley and these other 2 or 3 receivers they focusing on this class.
Yeah, when you bring in guys like you're talking about CJ and then also Khalid Lockett, Caleb Cunningham, let's say hypothetically you get the number 2 guy, you get the number 3 guy. What's the difference between number 1, number 2, and number 3? It might be very minuscule. Sometimes a number 1 recruit is, taking the cake by a mile and it's very, very, very obvious. But then there's other times where the top 3 recruits are, quite frankly, all worth a number 1 vote. So I think, if you get a Caleb Cunningham, you get the number 2 guy. Yeah, it's not going to be a thing that's as remembered. And also, we talked about it months ago. You definitely hit the nail on the head with this one. But if you lose anybody out of that 3, the trio of number 1s that you had committed, I'd probably pick Decorian. Only because I can't lose Bryce Underwood. I cannot. It would hurt too much. And then the Harlem
From the stuff
Berry.
that Right.
Harlan Berry being a Louisiana guy, it's just I like that. I like keeping stuff like that home. So, DeGorian, like we're saying, love for him to come. I think that he would benefit greatly. I think 100% he would carry the torch and be another addition to that, legendary wide receiver U alumni. But, I think LSU is going to be able to fix this. And also, if you've got the number one quarterback, he's going to attract names. He's going to attract recruits. He's going to get people over there and interested. And not only just this year, we're talking about 2025. Bryce Underwood's going to be here for the greater part of 3 years. He could be here 4 years. You know how many wide receivers we're going to see with the potential number one rank, with 5 stars, with a bunch of great abilities on a recruiting visit? A lot. This isn't going to be the only one. And I agree. I think, LSU's, they learned a lot from this. At least they got into the mix. At least they got their brand out there with this.
Right. And I think the only way Daquan Moore could possibly end up coming to LSU, right? Let's just say Kyron Lacy and Chris Hilton just start having a season similar to what Brian Thomas and Malik had last year. If them two start having a season like that before signing day, I could kind of see Daquan Moore start saying to himself, man, am I making the right decision going to Texas? Maybe I need to probably take my talents to LSU. They just keep on putting these guys out. These guys just keep on producing. That's the only way. That's the only way, bro. Because now you start thinking about the big picture. And I would hope that he would already be thinking about the big picture. But it's funny how when you start seeing your position showing up year after year like that, it kind of started putting something on your brain to say, man, maybe I need to go be part of it. So hopefully that happens.
Yep. And it's possible. It's very possible, especially, with Texas in their first year in the SEC. We might have a polar opposite situation here if you're comparing LSU to Texas going forward next year. Let's go ahead and toss it to our last segment of the stream. We're going to talk about a little bit of New Orleans Saints news. I know you LSU fans are probably a little confused, but I think this one is a little worth it. This one might hit a little close to home for some of y'all. Alvin Kamara, what's going on? I'll be the first to tell you, Alvin Kamara is probably one of the best Saints players we've seen in recent memory. Yeah, you got Michael Thomas. You got a lot. Chris Olave is very good as well. And I just think, though, Alvin Kamara possesses something that reminds me of a guy like Reggie Bush or even an Aaron Jones, if you want to keep it modern. I like the satellite backs that are able to hang around in the short field, catch some passes, go for 50, 60 receiving yards while still giving you 50, 60 rushing. He's going to always be a threat to reach that combined century mark. And with that, that's valuable. I'm going to draft him in fantasy football. I've done it for a few years. Coco in the chat, I know you watching. But I think that this is a situation where you really got to monitor this value. Is it worth it? In the past 4 years, he's only got $1 million a year in a salary. This year, he's getting 10 times that in $10 million. And he's still telling the Saints, I'm worth more. G, what do you think? How's that running back value in the NFL? I feel like, it's kind of dwindling. We saw Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor have some issues, but yeah, we even saw Saquon Barkley have issues. So what's Alvin Kamara going to have to do, and how does this situation pan out if you had to pull that old crystal ball out and slam it right in front of you?
I said this last season that we should move on from Alvin Kamara. Love Alvin Kamara. Love what he did for the franchise. Stand-up guy. One of the most dynamic players in the NFL. But when you start getting guys that play the running back position that's going into that third contract, it's time to start moving on. It's time to start moving on. And if you look around the league, that's what's happening. That's the trend. Because they start kind of going on a downward spiral. They're not at the same player they once was when they first got in the league those first 4-5 years in the NFL, bro. And you seen it last year, man. Look, Alvin Kamara's still a good player. I still think he can help a team, but he's not worth $10 to $12 million a year right now. He's not that kind of player anymore. And you got to move on from him and get some kind of value from him or for him while he still has something left in the tank. Because if you hold on to him for another year, right, and he's been battling injuries for the last 2 years, and You go into next off season, and now you want to try to get rid of him. Now you're not gonna get nothing for him. Now you're gonna end up cutting him. Now we got dead money on the books. Go ahead and trade him now. I thought they should have traded him for the draft, and I think they could have probably got like a 4th-round pick for him. And some people are gonna say, "Well, Alvin Kamara's worth more than a 4th-round pick." You got the NFL is different. It's not like the NBA. And 4th-round picks have a lot of value. If you can get a 4th-round pick for Kamara, if somebody say call Mickey Loomis right now and say we'll give you a 4th-round pick for Alvin Kamara, I would send him on his way today. Thank you for what you've done for New Orleans. Appreciate you. Adios. And that's just why I'm at with it, man. And I think it's just that's how you got to start thinking for the future when you start talking about paying a running back $10 or $12 million a year when they're going into what are he going into year 7, year 8?
It's right around there. It's been a while.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Drew.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how many years he's been in the league, but bro, he's on that trajectory where he's about to start losing value. So you got to get something for him while you can.
Alvin Kamara will be entering his 8th season this year. He got drafted and he debuted in 2017. He's been with the Saints, of course, every single one of those seasons. And I got some fans here worrying. AK-41, don't leave. I think if I was in this situation, I feel like if you get rid of Alvin Kamara, you potentially enter that rebuild mode, and then they got so many pieces that is like valuable because of this. Now, if you lose him, you got Jamal Williams, you got a guy like Rashid Shaheed, which I don't know how much he'll be able to receive out the backfield, but he's a talented guy. He can figure it out. Jamal Williams, obviously, a few years ago, did he lead the whole entire NFL in rushing touchdowns? Wasn't that what it was? The year prior to him going to the Saints when he was in the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, they're not going to be up Crab Creek without a paddle. But it might be worth it if you can convince Alvin to wait it out. Like, come on, let's get this $10 million check, and let's see if you could hold on till next offseason. And then if they don't agree, boom, do that before the draft next year. But maybe the Saints take one last swing at it. I don't know. I feel like that's the consensus with them not getting rid of Allen, with them. They did get rid of Carmichael, so they are making some progress. But I wonder what the Saints really think about the team that they have now. I feel like the Saints front office thinks this is a squad that could not only win a division, but maybe, win a playoff game in their eyes. And I am not speaking on my own terms. I'm just saying I wonder if the Alvin Kamara decision in their mind is going to be an instant rebuild type deal. I don't necessarily think it will be just because, like we said, Jamal Williams, Rashid Shaheed, and then who knows? I mean, you got guys that you've drafted / signed. You got guys who we really don't know about. But, man, Alvin Kamara is interesting. I feel like we got Killzone in the chat saying the Saints messed up using Williams. He should have had a bigger impact. 100%. He had 1 touchdown last year. That's really what the end.
Well, Jamal Williams, he was hurt for I think he was hurt for maybe 8 games, 9 games.
And
so,
he was that was the controversy at the end of the year when Jameis let him go in, right? That's what that knee audible was real quick. Yeah, I think
he came back right toward the end, the last maybe 2 games of the season, 3 games of the season, something like that.
So I'm wondering how that's going to be able to go. That's a cool dude too. The fans are buying in around him, and if you lose an AK, at least you have that. Because, I mean, if you compare it to other situations around the league, let's talk about the Cowboys. They lose Tony Pollard, they got to go grab Zeke. And also, let's dial this back. We're talking about running back value and, how teams don't want to consistently keep their guys. Look around the league. Derrick Henry, gone. Joe Mixon, gone. Tony Pollard, gone. Austin Eckler, gone. They're moving. They're moving all over the place, and it's not because they're getting huge deals. It's because they're in a spot where, like you're saying, some teams are feeling froggy and they don't really want to have a player banged up, especially a running back. It's not like a normal position. You're literally getting hit by the biggest dudes on the field consistently, play after play. Every single time you touch the ball, you're going to get hit once or twice. You're not a wide receiver that could, only get hit 5 to 6 times. You're probably going to get hit 17 to 20, and that's going to add up. You're getting hit 17 to 20 times every week. It's going to build up. You got, the soft tissue issues. You got a lot of things to worry about as a running back, and that's why they don't get the contracts like we see the Justin Jeffersons or the Joe Burrows get. But I wonder. I wonder what Alvin Kamara's intentions are here. I mean, he's obviously making a stand, completely leaving, and making it known he's not going to be attending the walkthroughs and all these OTAs and these mini camps and what have you. But I just wonder how far they take this. The Saints seem sometimes to be like, kind of, you know, not limited in terms of the decisions they make, but they don't normally go shoot and go for broke. If you ask me, they kind of stick things together, and they're like, even with what they did at the end of Drew Brees' career, they're like, all right, well, let's try to figure it out. Let's try to figure it out. They didn't really want to throw it all away. And if the Saints move Alvin Kamara, I would really wonder how that affects their chances of winning the NFC South. Right now, I could see them winning. That division's kind of odd. Panthers aren't really going to make you sweat. I mean, the Bucks won it, but it's like, how's that carry over? The Falcons get Kirk Cousins, but there's in-house turmoil, and we don't even know how Kirk's going to do. He got hurt, and there's all kind of questions. I think that the Saints potentially right now with this roster could be in prime position to go to the playoffs. Without Alvin Kamara, I don't know if I feel that confident about that. I don't know. I don't know why it changes it for me, but it does.
I mean, if we wasn't bringing in a new offensive coordinator, if we wasn't bringing in a new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak and Alvin Kamara had left, I wouldn't be really making that big of a deal of it because he would already know the offense. But this is a new offense.
And the
He
offensive
doesn't
line,
know Clint
too.
Kubiak. Yeah, he doesn't know Clint Kubiak's offense and his signals and all the nuances of what he likes. So if you miss mini camp and you miss summer training camp, now you're going into the season not really knowing what you're doing. And that limits you on Sundays on what you can call from a Clint Kubiak standpoint. So
Yep.
I'm concerned from the standpoint of Kamara missing a lot of time being able to get comfortable with this offense.
Yep.
And, when you look at the running back room, Jamal Williams and Kendrick Miller, I mean, after that, what else do you have?
Slim pickings.
I forgot the undrafted rookies they're gonna have in camp, but if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't any names that caught my attention. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I saw Tariq Cohen. I think he just signed with somebody recently. That would have been somebody that we probably could have went signed for training camp in case Alvin Kamara, decided to take this holdout or whatever he's doing further into training camp, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this gonna all play out. If I'm making Loomis, man, I'm on the phone making some calls, seeing if I can get at least a 4th-round pick for him.
Yeah, I agree. And then it just hit me. I don't know how I forgot this, but I'm pretty sure as of like 3 weeks ago, the Saints only had 2 starting offensive linemen or something like that. They had a lot of issues, whether it be James Hurst retiring or all these injuries that they got popping up all over the place. But
Yeah.
that is also something we're gonna have to monitor potentially with this Alvin Kamara situation because now the Saints are like, man, damn, what if we give you all this money and then we don't even have a line to protect you and put you out there on the field. Like we got a lot of issues to fix from the offensive line to the running back to if you ask some fans, they're gonna tell you the quarterback. I feel like Derek Carr's gonna make or break year here, and I mean, look,
Mm-hmm.
had a good
He's
end,
definitely.
but that don't matter. You need to do it this year continuously. That's what these fans are saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot is riding on whether Ryan Ramczyk is going to be ready for the start of the season,
Yep.
if he's going to even come back at any point in the season, because a lot of people saying he could be out for the whole year, and if that happens, bro, it's going to change a lot on what they can do
It really
because
will.
yeah, you're going to have people starting on that offensive line that's not an NFL starter.
Well, I mean, it'll be an interesting situation, and we'll continue to monitor it, especially because, I mean, if Alvin Kamara gets out of here, oh, the pandemonium starts in New Orleans, and we're 80 days out from the start of the NFL year. Actually, we might be a little less because they're going to pop off some preseason in August, but, I mean, we're months away, and we're already hitting panic buttons in New Orleans. So hopefully they don't, have the worst case scenario happen. Hopefully they can start to turn over a new leaf. I I don't know. It'll be interesting. I appreciate everybody here jumping into the stream. I know we had a little longer one today. Me and G, we've been going for about an hour every single time. I've been thinking it's been pretty good. Been pretty good.
Definitely, man. Always a pleasure.
Y'all go ahead and hit the like button before you hop out. It would mean a lot to me. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, you can come into the live stream, join, comment. We'll mention you on the show. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's been a good little episode. We'll have some more content Wednesday. We'll have Sherman Wilson coming in. That's the plan. We'll be doing a live interview here. We'll keep it same old, same old. We're going to be bringing you the LSU football content. Can't get anywhere else. Thanks for watching. This has been the Verdin Verdict, joined by G Sports. Get ready for the takeover, y'all.